All right, strap in, everyone, because today we are diving deep into the making of Thor. Ragnarok.
I am so excited for this one.
Yeah, we've got this incredible document from Stanford University's Open Virtual Assistant Lab, and it is basically a deep dive into, like, all the details of the movie.
You know how much you love those behind-the-scenes looks.
Oh, I live for them.
And this film, it totally changed the game for the Thor franchise.
For sure.
And we're going to break down how it all happened.
Okay, so for anyone out there who hasn't seen it, first of all, what are you waiting for?
Seriously, get on that.
But anyway, Thor. Ragnarok kicks off with Thor, battling Surtur, this, like, fiery demon dude.
Who's destined to bring about Ragnarok.
Right, the whole Norse apocalypse thing.
And right there, this isn't your average superhero flick.
No kidding.
It's weaving in Norse mythology this ancient idea of a world-ending battle where even the gods, they bite the dust.
Wow. Yeah, that's heavy stuff.
And it sets the stage for Thor's own personal journey.
Yeah. Which gets a whole lot more complicated when he gets back to Asgard.
Oh, yeah.
And he realizes Odin is, well, nobody knows where Odin is.
MIA.
And his sister, his long-lost sister, Hela.
The goddess of death.
Right. She decides, I'm going to take over.
She's not messing around.
Oh, no.
She's so powerful, she shatters Thor's hammer.
I know. I remember seeing that in theaters, and I was like, no way, Mjolnir.
Right. It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Not just for Thor's strength, but, like, symbolically, too.
Totally.
It's like losing a part of himself.
So then he ends up on this crazy planet, Sakaar.
The ultimate cosmic junkyard.
Ruled by, well, I don't even know how to describe the Grandmaster.
He's one of a kind, that's for sure.
And then Thor runs into Valkyrie.
He's an incredible warrior who, has her own secrets.
Yeah, and then he bumps into, wait for it, the Hulk.
What can I know, right?
Talk about an unexpected team-up.
So now they have to figure out how to escape this crazy planet, get back to Asgard, and stop Hela.
Before she, turns everything into a cosmic graveyard.
High stakes, for sure.
And then there's Taika Waititi, the director.
He brought this totally fresh energy to the franchise.
Oh, yeah, because remember the other Thor films, they were pretty serious, kind of Shakespearean even.
Yeah, more dramatic.
Ragnarok, though. It's like a party in space.
I mean, could you imagine going from the gravitas of the dark world to, like, Thor cracking jokes while he's, fighting for his life?
Right. What a shift.
It was a risk.
Big time.
But Guardians of the Galaxy had come out, and audiences were loving it.
Yeah, they were ready for something different, something, like, more fun and lighthearted.
So Waititi, he saw that,
yeah,
and he took a chance.
And it total paid off.
He leaned into the humor, but, I mean, it wasn't just about adding jokes. He had a vision.
Yeah, it was like he knew how to balance the humor with the epic storyline without, like, losing the heart of Thor's character.
Absolutely.
Not an easy thing to do.
It's a delicate balance, for sure.
No.
It's interesting you should say that about the Dark World, because Thor, Ragnarok didn't just, like, break box office records.
It did. It was huge.
But it also, it kind of broke the mold for these superhero movies. You know what I mean?
Okay. How so? Break the mold. What do you mean?
Well, like, before Ragnarok, the MCU films, they had a certain formula,
Yeah, I get you.
Big action, big stakes.
Right.
But humor. It was like a side dish, not the main course.
Yeah, just a little bit here and there.
Yeah, exactly. And then Ragnarok came along, and I was like, nah, we can have epic battles, world-ending threats, but we can also, like, have fun while doing it.
Yeah. And that shift, that willingness to just embrace the humor, it really, it rippled through the rest of the MCU, didn't it?
Oh, totally. You can see it in the later films, like even in Infinity War, even Endgame.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like it opened the door for this, like, more playful, self-aware tone, but without sacrificing, like, the emotional depth or the action. Yeah. And it's not just the overall tone, like, think about Thor's character, his whole arc.
Yeah, how he changes throughout the movie.
Yeah, he goes through this, like, major transformation in Ragnarok.
Yeah.
He sheds that Shakespearean gravitas.
Right. He's not so serious anymore.
And he reveals a side of himself that's more vulnerable, more, well, dare I say, hilarious.
For sure. He goes from this stoic, almost untouchable god to someone who can crack jokes, while he's in the middle of a fight.
Right. Like someone who can lose everything and still find a way to laugh.
And yet, it's like that humor doesn't take away from his strength or his heroism at all.
Totally. If anything, it makes him more relatable, more human.
I agree.
It's like by embracing those flaws and that sense of humor, he becomes this, a more well-rounded, engaging character.
Exactly, yeah. And let's not forget the dynamic between Thor and Loki.
Oh, their relationship.
They've always had this, like, up and down thing, the betrayals and the making up.
Yeah, yeah. The total roller coaster.
But in Ragnarok, it just reaches this whole other level of, like, comedic brilliance.
Oh, absolutely. They're back and forth. It's just pure gold.
It really is.
And it's one of the things that makes this movie such a joy to watch.
Agreed. But, it's not all just fun and games.
Right.
Like, under all that humor and those dazzling visuals,
Yeah.
there are some pretty profound themes that the movie's dealing with.
Oh, you're so right. It's easy to get caught up in all the spectacle.
Definitely.
But there's so much going on beneath the surface.
Exactly. So, like, what are some of those deeper themes that you see at play in the film?
Well, Thor's journey in Ragnarok, it's ultimately about letting go of the past
Oh, interesting.
and about accepting change and finding strength in unexpected places.
Yeah, I can see that.
He learns that true power, it doesn't come from like clinging to tradition or titles,
Right.
but from embracing who you are, even with all your flaws.
And that's a message that, that goes way beyond superhero movies, doesn't it?
It really does. It's about recognizing that sometimes you got to tear something down to rebuild it.
To make it stronger.
Exactly. Which is, exactly what Thor Ragnarok did for the franchise itself.
It totally did.
It deconstructed Thor and then rebuilt him as this more complex, more relatable, and ultimately more lovable character.
And it did it all while delivering this, like, visually stunning, action-packed, laugh-out-loud funny experience.
Yeah, it's got it all.
Speaking of the visuals, let's go back to the technical side for a minute.
Okay.
We talked about those massive sound stages at Village Roadshow Studios.
Yeah, it was a huge production.
But what about the actual process of creating those, like, incredible environments, especially on Sakaar?
Oh, man, Sakaar. That was a massive undertaking.
I bet.
It required, like, a whole team of VFX companies, each one with their own specialty.
Wow. So, like, what were some of the companies involved, and what did they each focus on?
Well, you've got Framestore, who were responsible for creating those, like, breathtaking landscapes and the alien cityscapes.
Wow. Yeah. Those were amazing.
And then you have Industrial Light and Magic, who brought characters like Korg and Meek to life.
Oh, yeah. I'm still blown away by how realistic and expressive those CGI characters are.
Me too. It's incredible.
What went into achieving that level of detail? It's mind-boggling.
It's this amazing combo of artistry and technology,
Yeah.
But first you have the performance capture, where actors wear these special suits that record all their movements and expressions.
Okay.
Then the VFX artists, they take that data and use it to create basically a digital skeleton for the character.
Wow.
And then they layer on like the muscles, the skin, all the textures, all the details that make it come alive.
So it's like a digital puppet show almost?
Yeah, kind of. But the hard part is making sure those CGI characters blend seamlessly with the real actors and the real sets, so it feels like they're actually part of the world.
Yeah, no kidding. That must be super challenging.
It is, for sure.
Speaking of challenges, let's go back to those Team Daryl shorts we mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah. Those were a fun addition.
They were, and they were added after the film was already released, right?
Right.
So what's the story behind that? Was it Waititi's idea? Did the studio push back at all? Fill us in.
Well, Waititi's known for this, like, improvisational style.
Yeah.
And those shorts, they're like a perfect example of that.
Okay.
They weren't originally planned at all.
Really? Wow.
But then while they were filming, Waititi and his team, they just came up with this idea.
to show what happened to Daryl.
Exactly.
Yeah.
After Thor moves out.
That's so funny. It's such a quirky, unexpected thing to add, but it just works.
It totally fits the whole vibe of the movie.
And it shows Waititi's commitment to character and to finding the humor in the most ordinary situations.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about the studio? What did they think about this whole thing?
They were surprisingly supportive.
Really?
Yeah. They saw it as, something extra for fans to enjoy, especially on the DVD and Blu-ray release.
Smart move. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a little bit more Daryl? But, those shorts, they're more than just comedic sidebars.
Yeah.
They also give us a glimpse into the cultural impact that Thor Ragnarok had.
Oh, totally. This movie, it resonated with audiences everywhere.
Yeah, big time.
It sparked memes, fan art, even Halloween costumes.
Remember those Get Help memes with Thor and Loki?
Oh, yeah. Those were everywhere.
It's amazing how a film can become part of the cultural conversation like that.
It's a testament to Thor. Ragnarok's ability to entertain, to make us laugh, to give us characters that we connect with on a deeper level.
Yeah, it's like it tapped into something universal.
Absolutely. It embraced its own absurdity, and in doing so, it found a way to speak to something that, like, transcends genre and culture.
Yeah.
It all started with this simple but bold decision to let Thor be funny.
And it worked. But as much as I love talking about the humor and the characters, we haven't really touched on the music yet.
Oh, the music. It's so crucial to this film.
I know. It's this amazing blend of classic rock and that sweeping orchestral score.
It's seriously epic.
But it's not just about how cool it sounds.
Right.
Right.
It's about how it works with the visuals, with the story, to create this, like, totally immersive experience.
Yeah, it's like that perfect marriage of sound and vision.
It's so well done.
Like when Immigrant Song kicks in during those big fight scenes.
Oh, man.
Chills.
It's like the music is giving Thor this, like, extra boost of energy.
It totally amps up the drama.
It makes those scenes even more intense.
And then you've got that orchestral score, which is just as impressive.
Yeah, it's got these big, like, sweeping melodies that,
They perfectly capture the scale of it all.
yeah, of Asgard, of the whole cosmic world.
And then it can also get really quiet and intimate.
Yeah, during those character moments.
It's like the music is this secret language,
I love that. It helps us connect with what the characters are feeling.
Exactly.
But let's rewind a bit and talk about how all these pieces, the visuals, the music, how it all came together during production.
So we were talking about those huge sound stages at Village Roadshow Studios.
Massive.
And then, like, transforming parts of Brisbane into New York City.
That's crazy. What a logistical nightmare that must have been.
I know. I can't even imagine.
But it wasn't just about finding the right spots to film,
No.
It was about creating a world that felt, both familiar and totally alien at the same time.
Right. And that's where the production design comes in, right? And the costume.
Yeah, everything's so vibrant, so colorful.
But even on Sakaar, which is essentially a giant junkyard.
They took all that scrap metal and turned it into, like, a work of art.
It's true. And the costumes, too.
Each one's so unique.
Yeah, like they really reflect the character's personality, their place in this crazy world.
Exactly, like Tequila's costume, for example.
Oh, yeah. So striking, so intimidating.
All those sharp angles and dark colors.
It's like, a visual representation of her power.
Totally. And then you've got the Grandmaster.
Mr. Flamboyance himself.
His costumes are just a riot of color and texture.
Like a walking disco ball.
Exactly. It's like every little detail, the sets, the costumes, the music, it was all carefully chosen.
To build this world that's, like, both visually stunning and tells a great story.
And that attention to detail, it carries over to the visual effects, too.
Oh, for sure. We talked about Korg and Meek, but what about those huge, epic environments?
Like the Grandmaster's Palace.
Yeah. Or the battle scenes on Asgard.
Oh, man, those were mind-blowing.
It must have taken an army of VFX artists to pull that off.
It did. They used all sorts of techniques, motion capture, 3D modeling, compositing.
And remember we talked about Framestore?
Yes.
They were responsible for a lot of those crazy environments.
Right. They use this technique called photogrammetry.
Okay, I'm going to need you to break that down for me.
Sure, yeah.
What is photogrammetry?
So basically, it's a way of creating, like, 3D models from photographs.
Okay.
So the VFX team, they take hundreds, even thousands of pictures of real-world objects and locations.
Wow.
And then they use software to, like, stitch those images together.
And that creates a 3D model.
A super detailed one.
So it's like they're taking a real place and turning it into a digital playground.
Exactly. It's pretty cool, huh?
Okay.
And that allowed them to create these incredibly realistic environments, even for scenes that, like, would have been impossible to film for real.
That's amazing. It's like the line between what's real and what's not is just, like, gone.
And that's part of what makes Thor Ragnarok so visually captivating.
I agree, but, it's not all just about the spectacle.
No?
Those visual effects, they also, like, serve the story.
They do. They help bring those characters and their world to life.
Okay, so we've talked about, like, the visuals, the music, the production design, the special effects.
It's a lot.
I know. Is there anything we've missed?
Well, we've touched on it a bit, but I think it's worth really emphasizing the cultural impact of Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, this movie wasn't just entertaining, it, like, sparked a whole conversation.
It became this pop culture phenomenon.
Memes, fan art, costumes, everything.
It's amazing. It shows how the film connected with people on a deeper level.
It wasn't just a superhero movie, it was like a cultural,
Touchstone.
Yeah. So, like, what was it about Thor Ragnarok that resonated so much with audiences?
Well, it was the humor, for sure.
Yeah.
The visuals, the characters, but I think it was also that message of hope and resilience, you know?
Yeah, I see it.
Thor, he goes through so much loss, so much hardship, but he never gives up.
He keeps fighting.
He finds a way to laugh, to love, to fight for what he believes in, even when everything's falling apart around him.
And that's a message we can all relate to, I think.
Especially in times like these, you know?
Times of uncertainty.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why Thor. Ragnarok is still so loved, I think.
It reminds us that even when things are dark, there's always hope.
And sometimes laughter is the best weapon.
I love that. So true.
But you know what's really fascinating?
What?
The legacy of this film, it goes way beyond Thor. Ragnarok itself.
How so?
It really impacted the whole MCU.
Oh yeah, for sure. Before Ragnarok, the MCU had this, like, set tone, a formula.
Right.
And then this movie came along and said, we can do things differently.
Yeah.
We can be funny, we can be self-aware, we can break the rules, but still tell a great story.
And that change, that willingness to embrace humor, it really influenced other MCU films that came after, right?
Absolutely. You see it in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Black Panther, even Infinity War and Endgame.
It's like Thor. Ragnarok opened the door for this whole new era of superhero movies.
More playful, more inclusive, more willing to take risks.
And that's a pretty amazing legacy to leave behind, right?
It really is, to think that one film could have such a huge impact.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, what does this all mean for our listeners?
Good question.
Why should they care about the making of Thor, Ragnarok?
Well, I think this deep dive has shown that even a big, CGI-filled superhero movie can be art.
Yeah.
It can be a story that really makes you think and feel.
It reminds us that there's always more to the story, that even these, fantastical worlds, they're built on hard work.
And creativity.
Yeah.
And a willingness to try new things.
Exactly. So maybe this will inspire some of our listeners to go back and watch Thor, Ragnarok again.
With a fresh perspective.
Yeah, to see all the layers, all the artistry.
Or maybe it'll spark their own creativity,
I love that.
Inspire them to tell their own stories, break their own molds.
Yeah.
Embrace the power of laughter and imagination.
Because at the end of the day, that's what Thor, Ragnarok is all about, right?
It is. It reminds us that even in a world of gods and monsters, there's always room for a little bit of fun.
Well said. So there you have it, folks.
Our deep dive into the making of Thor, Ragnarok.
We've traveled to Asgard, explored the wacky world of Sakaar.
And we've uncovered all the secrets behind this amazing superhero film.
A film that changed the game.
And reminded us that even in the face of, total apocalypse,
there's always hope.
There's always laughter.
And there's always a reason to keep fighting for what you believe in.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And that's a wrap for today. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Thor, Ragnarok.
We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic.
So stay tuned and keep those imaginations running wild.